Hello guys and welcome to today's video. Today we're back with the Spring of Sorrow Gauntlet, where we go through some of the tricky defenders who we have fought in the past weeks. The first one up is Toad, and for him we are using Hulk. For Toad, any good poison, so as long as your champion is poison immune, you should be okay. You remember in this fight, you want to keep him to his SP1 when you are at the rooted stage. So the rooted, you get rooted, and then this cycles with reverse controls on each of his special attacks. So for the rooted cycle, you want him to throw his SP1, as that's easy to dex, unlike what you just saw on the screen there. And then for his SP2, it's much easier if you keep him to reverse controls, because that's, again, easy to dex, which you also didn't see there. You know, this fight not going too well. I have sped these fights up because obviously they are quite long, and I know no one wants to sit for a super long video of just watching fights that they will eventually have to do themselves. But, you know, so I've sped them up. The best way to play this Toad is, as mentioned, with those special attacks at reverse controls. This is why, easy to dex when you are reverse controlled. I have got him with Hulk. I'm throwing his his SP3. And then hopefully going in and doing as much damage as possible. This Toad is a little bit annoying with Hulk because obviously you want to do as much damage before your Furies run out, whereas with Toad, because his AI is so bad and he doesn't throw special attacks, you just have to continuously wait. You can see here, I'm just waiting and waiting. But if you get a good AI for one or two fights, you should be able to fly through quite easily. So remember with the prowesses, if you intercept Toad, you will invalidate 4 of them. If he gets to 7 or 8, then he'll start stunning you, which becomes a really, really big pain. And something also to consider is when Toad gets a little bit lower on health, if you trap him in the corner, you will take, that does stop his regen, and that then causes you to have direct damage. So when he's below sort of 20%, try and keep Toad in the middle of the arena, which you will see a little bit towards the end of this fight. Unfortunately, we weren't able to solo this one. You can see here, I'm taking damage now. He's in the corner. I'm getting him close to damage, and then in a moment, you'll see that I'm pretty sure, I think I just die randomly. Here it is. Yeah, I die. And that is because hitting Toad in the corner does mean that his regens try and come back, but his regens don't work. And then when you stop an ability from happening with Toad, he causes you to take direct damage. So that's something, again, to consider with him. You can see here, I don't do as I say. I learned that in the next attempt. But here, I'm doing a little bit of damage. I push him in the corner, and bang, dead. So keep him in the middle, and it should be okay. Good champions for this. So we'll go ahead and we'll look at large and XL champions, because that is one of the requirements. I actually do the large and XL for the left side. But for this side, anyone who's poison immune, so Hulk, Hulkling can also work really well for this fight. Scorpion, off the top of my head, obviously any of the Gamma type champions work really nicely for this Toad fight. So there's quite a few options out there. So that really is it for counters to the Toad fight. Try and find someone who is poison immune. Hulk is obviously very, very good for this. Who meets the tags that are necessary. So like I said, large or XL. Just looking here at large and XL heroes, you can get quite a few decent champions. You've got She-Hulk, Hulk, Immortal Hulk, Gladiator Hulk, so all of the Hulks. Then you can even try a Man-Thing. Warlock. Warlock's a little bit of a funny one for this one, because he does stop Toad's regen, which does mean you take a little bit of like degen. And Hulkling, again, as we mentioned. So now let's move into the Destroy fight. This one isn't sped up because Spider-Ham just wipes him out. You'll see how really, truly easy this is. I'm pretty sure this is a solo. It might not be. I think I struggle because I forget that by punishing his heavy attack, you do get the grit, which means you can then intercept. You'll see here that I'm able to go in, intercept him just fine. With this Destroy fight, you want to keep him to his SP2. You want to punish his special attacks so that you get that grit, so that you can intercept him, because every time he dashes forward, he does get the unstoppable. But other than that, it's very, very easy. One thing to keep in mind is on his SP1, make sure you dex every hit. Don't go too far away so that you're out of range, because then he will get destruction charges. If he gets to 100 destruction charges, he gets a massive power gain of 4 bars of power, so basically a guaranteed SP3. But you can see here, Spider-Ham just makes an absolute joke out of him. When the grit falls off, just make sure that you go back in, let him throw his heavy attack, and then punish it so that you get another grit. And this fight should not be too difficult for a lot of you guys. I did use Scorpion the first time round when it was the Destroyer's week. However, this time I went with Spider-Ham to meet the science, skill, and tech requirement and hero, and he was just absolutely unbelievable. So you can see here that he shreds him in about 1 minute and 29 seconds, or something around that time, and it just makes for a very, very easy fight. So I would highly recommend Spider-Ham for this fight, but like I said, there are many champions that you can use. If you don't want to go down the large XL, you can't. Any sort of science champ works very, very nicely. I have already said that Spider-Ham works. Hulk himself works, so if you've only got Hulk and not Spider-Ham, you can use him as well. She-Hulk will be very good for this because she'll have the slow, although I'm pretty sure he might be immune to slow the Destroyer. But Scorpion, again, is somebody else. So there's a lot of good champions for that fight. For the Mole Man, we do start and try and bring in Chilth. Not really the fight for Chilth, I would say, but it is the fight for Spider-Ham. He, again, was someone I bought in for the when it was Mole Man's week. And the key to this fight is put lots of debuffs on Mole Man, get him up to Frenzy, and then make sure you hit him after his special attack so that you can do that little big bit of damage. But other than that, you want to get him to Frenzy. Someone with power stings is very, very useful. Chilth does work because her bleeds stay on him when he goes into Frenzy, so you know he's doing quite a bit of damage there. So she is a great champion to use. But I've gone with Spider-Ham here because, like I said, he was the person I used in the last time that Mole Man was, or when it was Mole Man's week, and you can see here that it's going pretty well at the moment. I do believe I mess up in a minute, and that causes me to die and might not be a solo again, but that is something I cannot really remember. But like I said, bait his specials, make sure you have a dex on you, so because that allows him to have that spite, that gives him a special attack. The more special attacks he throws, the easier it is for you to do damage, because as I mentioned, the node on here is that when his special attack ends, he takes damage from the first hit after, and it's quite a big chunk of damage. You'll see later I do about 175k in one hit, but not in this fight. As you can see, Spider-Ham is down. There are quite a few good options for Mole Man in the science, tech, and skill as heroes. There are quite a large amount of options. As I've mentioned, it is heavily reliant on debuffs, so there's a large amount of champions that you can use, because the more debuffs puts him in Frenzy, stops him from purifying, makes it a little bit easier. But Chilth is a great option. You can also look at, again, Hulk, even though he has class disadvantage, Human Torch, Hulk Buster himself would be okay. I think Photon would probably be quite good. Nick Fury would also be good. Spider-Ham, as you're seeing here. So there are quite a few options in that one. If you are looking to take the right side, I would recommend you take the right side with skill, science, and tech, and then the left side with cosmic, mystic, and mutant, just because it makes it a little bit easier for those fights, because as I said, for Destroyer, a science champion is key, and even for Toad, there are more poison immune champions in the skill class with, your Hulks and champions like that than there are in the Cosmic, Mystic, and Mutant, so you can get away with that a bit easier. Onslaught is a great option for this Mole Man, but as you can see on screen, it's really about just getting him throw as many special attacks as possible. Spider-Ham really does fly through this fight, and as I mentioned, was the one I went with in the when it was Mole Man's week. So I would highly recommend Spider-Ham, especially for this side. The only difference is that I would say is if you wanted to remove Spider-Ham, even though he's done these fights really well, and replace him with a large or extra large champion who is a hero, the champions you're looking at are going to be, Howard the Duck, I-Hulk, Gladiator Hulk, Hulkbuster, Luke Cage, She-Hulk, Warlock, Thing, Thor, and Korg. So I would say that maybe try and keep your large, extra large champions who, for the Cosmic Mutant and Cosmic Mutant and Mystic side, because there are a lot more large, extra large champions. You're looking at Onslaught, Rintra, Venom, Venompool, Gladiator, Gallon, Mr. Sinister. There's a lot more champs on show there, which does make your life that little bit easier. That would just be my recommendation for the right side, to use Science champions or that tag. Use your heroes for this side. And don't bring any Saga champions in, because currently the Saga champions are... there are a lot more Saga champions in the Mystic, Cosmic, and Mutant class than there are in Skill, Science, and Tech. So that's something also to keep in mind. So this fight isn't got much longer to go. Hopefully you guys have a rough understanding of who you need to use and sort of the best champions for it, and the best way to fight this Mole Man. You see here, I'm pretty sure this might be the last special attack that he gets close to throwing. Yeah, there it is. Big damage from Spider-Ham, and the fight is over. So now onto a fight that is actually quite easy, but I make it look very difficult. So this Iron Man, obviously we haven't played him yet. He is new for this week. He is immune to shock, so you can't bring in... No, armor break. My apologies. He's immune to armor break. But when you punish his special attacks, you'll see you get that grit on you, which does mean he can't resist anymore. One thing to be aware of is that after his special attacks, you have to throw a heavy attack, otherwise you take direct damage, like you'll see right there, and you'll die. I think it's 30% of your health, so it's definitely worth trying to heavy attack as much as possible. Someone like Chilf was very good for this fight, because a heavy attack has very long reach, so it did mean that she was able to heavy attack quite easily, making that fight a little bit easier. Good. There are quite a lot of champions who would be good for this. He is armor break immune, and if you do use somebody who has armor break, then I believe you take quite a strong shock and also direct damage, so I would recommend against that. You can use champions who might remove the armor break in sort of different ways. Looking at it, there's not a load of champions who do that without armor break. You have got Null, who will do that for the Cosmic class, but in this side, where if we're going off what I've said, and for the right side we're using Skill, Tech, and Science, there aren't a lot of options to get rid of that armor break. So the key here is to make sure that you punish his special attacks as much as possible to get the grit, so that you can throw your heavy attacks so he doesn't resist them, because you can't remove his armor up. So it all plays, it's all a big cycle. The fight is designed very nicely. It is about getting the grit. The grit then allows you to punish his special attacks, and that should make your life a little bit easier. Chilf is a very good counter for this fight, because she has the grit on her SP1. The same with, I believe, Beta Ray Bill, so he's an option for the other side. However, Beta Ray Bill does have shock, so that he make it a little bit more tricky, I would say, so it might be worth avoid using him. But as I was saying, Chilf is very good. She has the grit on her SP1, so you can continue to knock him down even if you've not punished his special attacks. But that's really it. The key is punish his special attacks, get yourself a grit, then throw your heavy attack to knock him down, get rid of that timer of direct damage, and the fight shouldn't take too much longer. Hopefully, that is a good rundown of the fights in this Spring of Sorrow Gauntlet. And you have the counters who meet the tags. I would, as I mentioned, just to clear up, highly recommend Skill, Science, Tech for this right side, and then Cosmic, Mystic, Mutant for the other side, because the champions just counter the defenders on this side a lot easier. Try and fit the hero on this side like I have with Chilf, Hulk, and Spider-Ham. There are a lot more heroes than you think. that does make it a little bit easier, and potentially the no saga champion and do 3 and 3. But there is a way of finding, putting a lot more tags, or getting the objectives a lot easier by not doing this. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.